Hello guys, what's up? Welcome back. It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. We're here for UFC Vegas 19. Curtis Blaydes against Derrick Lewis is our main event from the Apex in Las Vegas. As the big boys are getting in that little cage again, so it's always interesting to see those two guys, see the big heavyweights, in that cage. I'm really hoping my Wi-Fi stays here because it's been an absolute pain in the ass and it's flickering in and out. So if it's not, let me know. I might have to restart this again, but hopefully not. But it's like I say, it's kind of playing with me a little bit. So yeah, we're here for this card. 15 fights on this card. And I'm going to come out straight away and say I've not managed to get through all the fights since last week, since I put out my video. I've got a majority of them done, but there is stuff there. I really hope that we can have 15 fights for DraftKings purposes, but just more choice. I think it's a good fight card, honestly. I think there's a lot of good competitive fights, and I'm looking forward to talking about those fights in due time. Just want to say a massive thank you to every subscriber of mine, every viewer that takes the time out to watch me. I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Coming off a good week. Picks-wise, 6-4, not great, but bet-wise, a really good night. So I'm continuing my good run to start the year, hoping to continue that this week. I only have the one bet made so far, which I'll tell you about once I get to it. So probably last December, I said I was probably going to make a Patreon page, and I'm not being too sure because I kind of feel a little bit, I'm not sure about asking people to support the channel and stuff like that. You already do enough by watching me. But from the start of March, I am going to have my own Patreon channel. I've already got it set up. I don't want to put it out there yet until you guys can, probably till the start of the March. So the first card will be the pay-per-view card, where all my bets will kind of move over there. Some of my early videos will be put out there. So I'll be doing, as soon as I watch a fight, I'll go on there, post a video where I'm going to go, and the pick will be in that one there. So if any of you kind people out there want to support me, there's going to be some life changes coming up soon. So, yeah, it'll all help me in due time. So that'd be awesome if you could do that, and you could help me out. Because like I said, I've been around here a long time, and it'd be nice to just have a little bit of support. But you guys do enough for me anyway, so it's not a push out there. I apologise if there's a lot of noise coming from the kitchen because the missus is throwing dishes out, left, right and centre. So, yeah. I also just want to say a massive well done to all the other predictors who do this week in and week out. Like, you've got my respect ultimately for the work that you put in, because it's not an easy task, and we kind of plug away at it, and the good guys really go out there and do very well. So I really just want to say well done to you guys, and just keep it up. Let's keep growing this predictions on YouTube, and just all the best. So, right, I've already babbled on for 3 minutes. We've got 15 fights to get through. Let's haul ass and get through it there. Before I get into this here, the chat there, fuck Adolfo Vieira. I think there's a lot of people saying that. BP, what's up, my man? Hope you're well. Cash beautiful in Vienna. Jeez, that would have been great. So, should get sponsored by Iron Brew. Agreed, Moise Audio. Let's do it. Right, let's get into this fight card. Sergey Spivak against Jared Vanderlei is the first fight up, and I'm pretty certain here that Spivak should win this one fairly comfortably. I've kind of liked what I've seen in his kind of progressions recently in his past few fights. And when I watch Vanderlei, he doesn't scream like a guy that's going to stick around the UFC for too long. Honestly, he doesn't meet the eye test for me. My one good eye test, I should say there. Coming off a win over Harry Hunsucker on the Dynamite Contender Series, I have watched him in fights where he has went late on into fights, and he's fought guys with a lot of experience, like your Tony Lopez and that there. So he's one of the guys that's kind of near 100 fights there. So he's got a lot of experience on his side there. But to me, like I say, I think he can go hard through the initial parts of the fight. I think he can throw some fairly decent strikes. Good ground and pound once he gets on top of you and stuff like that. But it's just, to me, I just think that Spivak, from what I've seen of him recently, I think when he came into the UFC, I remember putting a video out, and I think a certain Mr. Arkansas called me out on this because I put Walt Harris as I think it was my most confident pick. I was not impressed at all by Walt Harris. like by Sergey Spivak. So I went big on Walt Harris, and I got called out for it. And then he comes out there and he gets knocked out very, very early on, and so that was always nice there. But like since then, I think he's made some good changes. I think he rebounded really well against Tai Tuivasa, got the submission there in round number 2, faced Marcin Tybura, and to me, he could turn into a kind of Marcin Tybura-esque fighter where he'll win fights, not look spectacular in doing so, though. Then he went and beat Carlos Felipe, where I just thought he used his jab very well, timed takedowns very well, and just overall just did what he had to do across the 15 minutes. And I kind of like him to do that here. So I've got Sergey Spivak. I actually think he's a good parlay piece. I think he's minus 225 here in the UK. I'm kind of looking into some spots where I might use him. I'm not sure yet where I'm going to go with this card betting-wise. But ultimately, I'm going to pick Sergey Spivak. I'm going to pick him to win via decision. Eamon Zahabi against Draco Rodriguez. Eamon Zahabi is just not turned out the way that I think maybe many from Canada or so on have kind of really envisioned for this guy. Now, one of the things was, I remember back in the day when he first came into the UFC, whenever that was 2017, whenever it was, he was, there was some people on the kind of Canadian scene that have been telling me that he's not fought the best competition. And that's pretty much true of the way it was really. I think he's really not turned out to be the greatest prospect. I think he's kind of got behind the name, the Zahabi name a little bit too much. But I think that he's not turned out to be the fighter that we thought he was. And I think that knockout to Ricardo Ramos really caught him in his tracks there. Rodriguez, to me, I think he's an interesting contender. He's still very young, obviously 8 fights in his career. I think he's got okay boxing. He's still 23, 24 years old. I've seen him grapple a little bit. Looked very good, I thought, against Mana Martinez on the Contender Series, getting that first round choke, where he seemed to have it in for eternity, and like eventually Mana just ran out of air, and that was the end of him there. Only loss of his career is to Tony Gravely, who's a stud wrestler, and we've seen that if you watch that fight back, he was kind of using his grappling and going through that. Zahabi, to me, he doesn't really stand out in any one area. I think he's solid. It's probably the best there, but not overly dangerous in my opinion. And I think Draco probably is just the hungrier fighter. This fight was rescheduled after he got COVID, Zahabi, back in December. I was on Rodriguez back in December. There's no point for me to really change my pick now. So I've got Draco Rodriguez potentially for a finish, but I'm going to go for a decision in that one there. Chaz Scalia against Jamal Emmers. Now, there's a couple of fights in this fight card, guys, that I'm going to make some greasy picks because there's a couple of these fights that I think could potentially be very, very close. And this one here is going to be one of my kind of greasy picks of the week. And I'm going to side with Chaz Scalia against Jamal Emmers. And I know I'm going to probably catch some shit for this. It is what it is. You've got to take your shots and some decent sized underdogs in this card. And this is one I like because I've never really overly been too hyped up on what I've seen from Jamal Emmers. Now, I thought he put it all together very well against Vince Cachero last time out, used a big long strike in it. He's got mixed it up really well, used some nice low kicks. But he's been a guy that's kind of had a lot of hype for a lot of times with the people that he's beat earlier on in his career. I thought the Chikadze one was, I think he had an opportunity to win that fight. He just didn't really do what he's supposed to. If he was to grapple a little bit, I think he would have probably won that fight more convincingly. He could have won a decision pretty much. So yeah. Rafael Barboza, I think, is a really good win. That's a guy that I really liked in the scene. Jay Cuccinello was a guy that came through tough, not overly great, but managed to get him out there in the first round. I mean, the guy's got a lot of really good qualities with some of his wrestling, if he decides to use it. His striking seems to be coming on a lot better. Like I say, the Julian Rosa fight kind of puts me off because he was heavily backed in that fight as a big favourite and got hit with a head kick and knocked out pretty badly, pretty devastatingly in that fight. And I've just never overly been sold on him. And when I look at Chaz Scalia, I mean, he's been around a long time. He's overcame a lot of injuries, comes from a really good camp at Sanford MMA. A guy that I don't think I've ever really had the best read on, but the guy's a really tough out for a lot of guys. But I'm kind of a little bit concerned about the gas tank and if Jamal Emmers can maybe pick him apart at distance, because I think he can. And I'm like, right, how does Scalia win? Could he wrestle with his wrestling? Win with his wrestling? And I'm like, I'm not too sure if he can sustain that for long periods of the part. But like, then I thought to myself, can he win 2 rounds with it? I'm like, I think he can. I think he can do enough striking, enough clinch work, maybe get some takedowns to potentially win rounds. And I think at the betting line, what it is now, he's in the plus 200 area, it's probably higher than that. There's a lot of people I know that there's a couple of people actually messaged me regarding Jamal Emmers and is he a parlay piece now? At the number, I think he's a parlay piece. If you're confident, and like I say, this is just my perspectives on the fight, guys. You have to do your own stuff here. Don't take my picks as gospel, my predictions as gospel, because, like I say, I only got 60% of the fights right last week, but I picked the ones that won me money. So you're never going to get everything right in this game. So I'm going to take a shot on Chaz Scalia to kind of outgrind Jamal Emmers, in my opinion. So like I say, it's a greasy pick. It could fall flat on its face very early, and it could become a rather rough night for Chaz Scalia, but I'm going to take a shot on him regardless. Like I say, he's not great in any one area, Chaz Scalia, but he's very tough across a lot of areas, very gritty, very determined. He always has been through his UFC career. And if he gets an opportunity to get an arm around your neck, he could take that neck home with him. So I like Chaz Scalia in this spot here. But like I say, this card to me, and like BP's actually said it here, card is hard for betting on. I can agree. There's some spots that I do like, but you can't trust some spots here as well. So I'll get back into the chat a little bit later, guys. I'm going to try and fire through some of these fights here. Is that the next fight up? I believe the ladies are up here. Shayna Dobson against Casey O'Neill. This one I'm interested in because obviously Casey O'Neill, she's got that Scotland flag beside her name. I knew of her, but I didn't really watch anything of her. She was born over here in Scotland, obviously, and then emigrated over to Australia, where I think she's been for the last 10 plus years, 10, 11 years. Her dad, I think is the owner of Eternal MMA, which is an Australian regional promotion, where she's pretty much fought every fight except for her last one there. So I'm a little bit kind of skeptical with that, because obviously if your dad's there and he's the promoter or the owner, whatever it is, it might kind of turn out to be matches that are made for you. But I think the matchups that, there's a lot of amateur fights on there. They were matched up accordingly with what's in the kind of region. And I definitely think since she went to Tiger Muay Thai, which I think she went there probably a year plus ago, fought UE Warriors 113 or 13, I think it was. In the last 2 ones, she's fought a 5-1 girl and a 6-3 girl. So she's fought girls with decent records who've won fights. So that's always nice. But when you watch her through her amateur days and her early pro career days, you can definitely see that since she went to Tiger Muay Thai, she's definitely rounded out. Her striking's became a little bit better. She's super aggressive. She will attempt the takedowns, and she will look to be dominant on top. And once she gets on top, she just rains ground and pound, doesn't stop. And I like what I kind of see from her right now. I think they've matched her up well here. Shayna Dobson coming off a massive win, obviously. She cashes a massive, massive underdog against Agapova. But to me, when I watched that back, and I watched it back this afternoon, it's more on the Agapova totally gassing out. She put everything in that first round. She got takedowns, which I think Casey O'Neill will try and accomplish here, is get the fight to the ground. I think she can do that. But Shayna Dobson's had more rounds in the UFC, more experience. She's had some tough losses. She's got knocked out. She's got beat up a little bit, but she's been in there. She's took a lick. She's won fights. And that's something that Casey hasn't done yet. But I'm a really big admirer of the Hickman brothers at Tiger Muay Thai, and I watched a few videos regarding these, them talking about Casey. And of course, they're going to talk her up. But they're saying that if she does all the right things, she could really go far in the sport. And I'm a little bit worried. I think this is her first fight at flyweight. I think she used to fight at strawweight, so her moving up, and I think they're both a similar size here, but I do like Casey O'Neill. The line's kind of intriguing to me. She's now minus 145 in America. I don't know what she is over here in the UK, but that's a kind of fight that kind of intrigues me if the line becomes lower, because I think she's got a clear path to victory through her takedowns, and she can keep the fight there for longer spots. Now, she does kind of barrel forward a little bit and can get hit with some big shots. And when I'm talking about Tiger Muay Thai, she's not been obviously at that camp because I don't think you can get into Thailand for that. So she's been Las Vegas, Extreme Couture, Syndicate MMA, I think it is. Extreme Couture, I think it is. It's where she's been doing her camp there. I've seen Eddie Baracco's been really doing well with her striking. So I'm going to go Casey O'Neill in this one here. And this is one that I'm going to kind of watch more through the week, see where the line goes. If the line gets down by that minus 125 number, it's kind of like the Alexa Grasso number to me last week where she was I wanted to get minus 110. If I could get that, I was in. And got to minus 110 late on Saturday night, and I was in on that there. So I'm going to take Casey O'Neill here. I think she can win. I think she can actually stop Shayna Dobson the way she is very aggressive with her striking. So I'll take a TKO finish in round number 3 in that one there, but not super confident because I still think that Casey's very green, and we still need to see her when she's got the bright lights on top of her. So Casey O'Neill is going to be the pick there. Juliana Rosa against Nate Landwehr. I think this is a good fight, a really good scrap, and very close lines between both guys. Juliana Rosa got that big win as a massive underdog against Sean Woodson, where he was kind of getting hit up a little bit, but then he started to turn it around, and when he started to do that, he really started to put on Sean Woodson, who's an awkward fighter to challenge for the simple reason that he's got long limbs himself, can fight at distance, can pop his jab out there. But ultimately kind of caught him in a beautiful Darce choke and got him out of there in round number 3 and cashed as a big underdog. Now, he's not really had the best time in the UFC, so the fact he's get in there and beat a prospect, I suppose you could say, a young prospect, it says, maybe, does he still kind of belong here? I'm still a little bit unsure. He's 3 losses in the UFC. Devontae Smith knocked him out. Grant Dawson beat him up pretty handily for 15 minutes after making a decent start in that fight, and then Julio Arce knocked him out with a head kick in the 3rd, where he's always competitive, he's always in the fight, but there's always a spot where he could get knocked out, he could get hurt badly, and that's happened in the past as well, out in the regional scene if you watch his fights. Nate Landwehr is a mad bastard, like he is a mad guy, like a really mad guy when you watch his fights, but he's got a lot of belief in himself as a fighter. Like he's not, I don't think, technically gifted, but the guy's got a mentality that he's not going to lose fights. 14-3 record. I tried to bet against him against Darren Elkins, thought I had a shot to cash that bet, and ultimately gave it to Landwehr, which is fair enough. That's fine. I thought it was a close fight. I actually think bet him in the Herbert Burns fight as well, and he ate Herbert Burns' knee early in that first round and got knocked out, but tough guy, barrels forward, doesn't quit on himself. It's got a mentality that he's going to barrel through you. You watch his fights in Russia where he comes through some squally spots there against guys with really good records, won a belt over there, defended the belt over there. I mean, these are guys that are 18-7, 10-1, 16-4-1. So these are guys with really good records and are really tough, and he manages to come through, get a couple of knockout wins late in the mid part of those fights, and then win some decisions over their 5-round decisions. So there's not too many fights. I'll pick Juliana Rosa to win fights. I think I just like the tenacity of Nate Landwehr. He's going to keep coming forward for the durity of the fight, keep coming at you. You have to really be careful with the long limbs, though, of Rosa, because, like I say, he fights at distance. These glasses are giving me problems. Sorry, guys. Fighting at distance, popping the long jab out there, can bring a knee up the middle, can use leg kicks fairly well. So I'm on Nate Landwehr, and I was a little bit surprised to see that he's kind of the underdog. It's more or less a pick him at this spot. But if he gets a plus number beside his name, I could be a little bit interested in Nate Landwehr. But I think where that line is now, I mean, we are only on Monday. I think the line could maybe stay round about here, but if he gets the plus money, I could be tempted with that bet. I'll be honest with you there. So I'm going to pick Nate Landwehr. I'm actually going to pick him via stoppage. I think he could find a shot in a Rosa and put it on his chin there, and could hurt him in that spot there. So I'm going to go Nate Landwehr via stoppage late in the 3rd. Eddie Weinland against John Castaneda. Greasy pick number 2 here. Eddie Weinland is going to be my pick. Even though I'm sitting here thinking, and I could be here next week saying this, you made a stupid pick. But when I watch John Castaneda, I'm just like, has he got the tools to put away Eddie Weinland? And I'm like, probably, yeah, because I think that Eddie's took a lot of damage over his career, but is Castaneda on the level of some of the guys that Weinland has fought recently? No. Like, especially with the striking and stuff, but maybe all it takes is one shot to really hurt Eddie Weinland in that. Eddie Weinland's very, very bouncy on his feet, likes to throw angles, doesn't throw at a hell of a lot of power, kind of likes to pick you apart at distance a little bit, and kind of mix up all his strikes with knees, elbows, kicks, whatever it may be. But he is at probably the tail end of his career. But I'm seeing a lot of love actually for John Castaneda. And actually, before I started watching some fights on this year, Castaneda was an underdog. I thought, oh, this might be a spot here. But I just wasn't feeling it when I was watching Castaneda out in the regional scene fighting and come back to Americas and so on. I'd seen him in the Dana White Contender Series where he won that fight via decision. Made his UFC debut very short notice against Nathaniel Wood. Gave a decent account of himself, but Nathaniel really had a lot of strikes, really landed a lot of good low kicks. Was kind of picking him apart with that, got a couple of takedowns in that one as well. And I mean, he's lost 3 of his last 4, so he came into that one, coming into that fight with losing 2 of his last 3. That's never really good look, but it was a short notice fight, obviously. But Eddie Weinland, I mean, when you watch that Sean O'Malley fight, I mean, Sean O'Malley is like night and day ahead of where John Castaneda is. But he was hit with a big shot before the initial knockout blow. You can see he really got hurt in that fight there. I think it was a right hand that O'Malley caught him with and then just caught that shot. You could see he was dazed. He was couldn't see this thing coming. Hit him square in the chin there. Where his only win in the last 4.5 years is Gregory Popov, where he caught him with a right hand and knocked him out in the second round. And potentially he could catch John with that shot here and hurt him. But I think John could probably take a shot better than what Popov can. But before that, he was beating like Frankie Saenz and Takeya Misagaki. Guys kind of at the tail end of their career, and he's losing to like fast guys like John Dodson and Perez, who's just a hard guy to face because he kind of weasels fights. I think this fight could be close. I think if Eddie Weinland can keep these rounds close, I think he could take them. Not confident. One of my least confident picks of the card is going to be Eddie Weinland, and it's kind of greasy saying that for the simple reason that he is very short. The word he might be short at this point actually, but I'm going to pick him in this fight regardless. I think that's where I want to move in this spot here. So I'm going to pick Eddie Weinland via decision. Not confident with it. Won't have any action on it. Sit back and watch and see what's going on with that one there. Moving to the lightweight division is the fight that got put together after Jai Herbert pulled out last week. You've got Eddie Weinland against Luis Pena. Interesting scrap. Was kind of looking into this fight earlier this afternoon. I actually quite liked Drakkar Klose against Jai Herbert a little bit. I thought that wasn't a bad spot there, but Herbert could have made that one close as well. I think he had spots where he could win in that fight. I've been a little bit of a sucker betting Luis Pena in some spots. I've did well betting against him, like I bet Trezano against him as a massive underdog. But I've also bet against him in some spots. So I'm like, that's a bad pick on my side, bad bet on my side, actually. I put money on him in some of those spots. Drakkar Klose is the guy I've always thought that he could have been better. I think he talks a good game, but I think he could have been better. He could be better than what he is. From what I'm hearing, he's had camp troubles for this one here. So Eddie Chai was at Fight Ready, a great camp out there in Arizona. I think he had a falling out with Coach Cha, and him and his missus, Courtney Casey, are not in the gym anymore. I think they've moved to this, I can't remember the name of the gym, but it's where Michael Johnson has recently relocated from Florida to in Arizona. So we've not seen him in nearly a year after that fight with Beneil Dariush, which was awesome. And I thought he was actually fighting a good fight, landing some big blows on Beneil Dariush. But you cannot count Benny out. And eventually he caught him with one of the best finishing sequences of the year and put Drakkar Klose on his backside. Before that, he had 3 wins: Vanato, Bobby Green, Hiagos, all by decision. So he can grind out fights, and I kind of expect him to kind of do that here. He's been ready for a fight, been getting ready for a fight. Pena, from what I've heard, has been in the being in the gym every day at American Top Team, really championing, chomping at the bit to get a fight. So when the opportunity came here for him to get this fight, he jumped in there head first pretty much. But like I say, this is the kind of big fight for Pena, because if he loses this one here, do they really kind of keep him around? I'm not kind of sure. I think they could let him go. Losses to Matt Frivola, Kama Worthy, where I think I bet him in that fight there, and I thought after that second round, use some of that length on him and won the second round. I was like, yes, come in there in the third round. Then really kind of did some bad shit and got caught in a guillotine choke. So that was a bit shitty, but got all the dimensions to maybe give him problems. But I just think Drakkar Klose can probably put everything together a little bit better at this point. So my pick's going to be Drakkar Klose, but I've seen some people out there that kind of like Luis Pena. I just think I'm going to sit back, watch this fight, and see how it goes from there. Next fight up. This is a really interesting fight to me, and I had a lot of fun watching this yesterday. Danny Chavez against Jared Gordon is up next. I went into this one no real kind of lean on either side there. I couldn't really remember Danny Chavez off the top of my head, and then I remembered TJ Brown, and I started watching, and I started remembering, I remember this guy coming as an underdog. To me, I thought he fought a really good fight, but against a guy who is there to kind of bomb on, to make mistakes on, is not defensively sound. I'm not saying Jared Gordon's defensively sound, because there's some spots where he's got knocked silly, got a little bit too aggressive, got hit with shots. But Danny Chavez, to me, when I seen him, I was like, I quite like what I see from this guy. But then I'm only going off one fight, which I can remember, or a little bit remember from there. Great low kick, debilitated TJ Brown early on, great combinations. Took a couple of shots himself, and then towards the end of the fight, he showed a little bit of his grappling when TJ Brown he was probably a little bit kind of compromised with his leg, which has thrown him about a little bit. But throughout that fight, I thought he fought a really composed fight. He's not a young kid anymore. He's like in his mid-30s. And just fought a really good fight for his debut. Fights out of South Florida and Miami at MMA Masters, and you know that they guys are really, they kind of lock in on like that low calf kick. It seems to be like a Florida thing. ATT do it well too, and comes from a good camp there. Like he's talked about Kobe Covington. I don't think he's worked with him in this one here, but Miguel Baez has been a training partner, and there's a couple other guys there that he mentioned. But really, when you watch his fight, I had to thought, right, I have to go back and watch some of his fights beforehand. The guy's got really good, diverse kicking skills. Can go low, middle, up top. Did that. There's a fight there, he caught the guy with a massive low kick that really buckled him, and then went up high with a high kick, and it was a nasty, nasty knockout. But then you go back a few fights before that, and you see his losses were actually kind of grappling-based kind of losses. And this is where I'm thinking that Jared Gordon's going to come in here, and I thought he didn't look good against Chris Fishgold. I thought that there was a whole load of scenarios going into that fight where his team couldn't get to Abu Dhabi. He had nobody in his corner. Had to make kind of weight with Paul Felder kind of flying between doing interviews with fighters and then him helping him cut weight. Paul Felder on the desk calling fights and having to go and corner him. So that was a rough week, and there was the whole thing, personal stuff regarding the loss of his baby. So that was rough. But when this guy loses, I mean, he loses to really good fighters, and I don't think Danny Chavez is in that spot of being like a high caliber fighter. I mean, when you look at his losses, we're talking Charles Oliveira, Diego Ferreira, two guys that are ranked in the top 10 of the division at lightweight. Joaquim Silva's a big power puncher. And he fought really well in that fight. It was actually a really close back and forward fight. I remember betting Silva in that spot and really liking that spot there. And the guys that he should be beating, your Chris Fishgolds, your Dan Moretz, your Hakran Diaz, he's come out there and beat them. And I put Danny Chavez, I think he's a lot more dangerous than what those guys are, but I still think he's very beatable. I think he can be grinded out. I think someone like Jared Gordon could put the grinding on him here, push him against the cage, clinch shot, be dirty with him. If he gets him to the ground, I think that Jared Gordon is one of the guys down there with hellish ground and pound, will throw a lot of strikes, will be heavy up top. If he gets him down there early and establishes that and tires him out, I think that he could come out there and win. I actually think he could take out Danny Chavez in that spot. there's a lot of love for him because the betting line has went up surprisingly today. So he was, I think he was minus 120 this morning. He's now minus 140, so the money is flowing in him. I'm going the other side. I'm going Jared Gordon here, and I'm actually probably going to bet Jared Gordon this week. I actually really like the spot for him. Could he eat one and then to his chin and get knocked out? Absolutely. Could he get compromised with low kicks and kind of fold over? Absolutely. But I just think Jared Gordon in this one here is a very live dog. And these are the type of fights that I think he should be winning. He just has to come out there and put it all together. So I'm going to pick Jared Gordon. I'm going to pick him via a 3-round decision here. But I think he'll take some lumps in this one, but I think he can come through. And the way that line's going, I might get plus 125, plus 130. So I'm really anxious to see where this line kind of ends up by Thursday. Just remember, guys, I am going to be doing the Cash Lift, which is my betting podcast. It's now returned. It's going to be a Thursday night staple, 9:30 my time. So, yeah, here. I've seen someone's given me a donation. Anthony Cousineau, my man Tony. That's very, very generous of you, brother. Thank you so much for that. I really, really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go into some of the chat there just to see what's going on because there's been a lot of guys in here talking away. So Spivak via sub. Very good prop. Don't like this card for betting from Chris Grieve. Hope you're well, Chris. Hi, Will. Watched your videos for a while, just never posted in the live chat. Keep up the good work. Appreciate that very, very much. Z, congrats on the 5-unit win this weekend. Your betting record is looking great. It is. It's back. It's doing really well up there, so I appreciate that. There's a lot of guys in the chat there, so I'm going to go back down into here and see what's going on. So let me bring this up. So we're on to I think this is the last fight before we head into the main card. Middleweight division, Phil Hawes against Nasiruddin Imaov. And this is a fight I have a bet on already. And this was one I kind of missed out in the line a little bit because I watched this fight on Friday, but I wanted to do a little bit more research on it. Actually, was it today? Yesterday. And the line and move from where he was an underdog to he's now a favourite. I think it's a pick 'em actually. So I think he's maybe a slight favourite in the UK, but the line in the over here is minus 120. I got him at minus 110. So I'll come out and say my pick's going to be Phil Hawes in this one here. And there's a lot of love for Imaov. I think that in his fight last time against, I think, was it Jordan Griffin? It wasn't Jordan Griffin. Let me bring that up. It's a Jordan somebody. It's the guy, the diabetic guy. Jordan Wright. So many Jordans just come into my head. Jordan Williams, of course. I thought he fought a really good fight. Looked overall a really good, well put together fight. I like the fact that he's coming from that kind of Dagestani background, but he's actually kind of in the kind of cultured class of kind of like Paris, where they really put together the fighters very, very well. I think he's a good mix of that there. I thought his grappling looked okay. I thought he ate a lot of shots. I thought his striking looked really good. But this is more on, I think that Phil Hawes right now is in a really good spot in his career. And this is the guy that had a lot of hype on him beforehand when he went on to Tough, when he went on to Dana White Contender Series. He came from the Jackson Wink kind of team there where he was a main training partner of John Jones. Never really worked out for him in that spot, went into the Dana White Contender Series. Started off okay, but then Julian Marquez absolutely threw a head kick, whipped him straight in the chin, knocked him out, dirty knockout. And was just really, really a nasty knockout. Now he's moved out of there, so he's wasn't one of the guys that's kind of Jackson Wink. He's moved across the other side of the country, went to Sanford MMA, which is pretty much like your Black Zillions. It's kind of evolved over the years, and now it's Sanford MMA, where Gilbert Burns, your Michael Chandlers, a host of other guys, Jason Jackson, whoever they may be. They've got a lot of top-notch guys in that gym there, and I think that Phil Hawes right now is looking. To me, he looks like he's ready to kind of make a charge in this division. But I am still a little bit skeptical, honestly, because Jacob Malkoun, I mean, he ran through him very, very quickly. He kind of posed no problems for him in that spot. I don't even think Malkoun should really be in the UFC at this point, but that's beside the point. He handled the guy accordingly. And I think if the only real worry I have here, if he gets into the middle part to the late part of this fight and he could gas, I think he could, obviously. But I actually think he knocks out this guy in the first round and a half. So I put a couple of units on. I think it was 2 units I put on, 2.2 units actually, on Phil Hawes to win. I actually think he gets it done by knockout. I think that he's got everything there. He's got vicious striking, fast hands, good wrestling, just an asterisk point with his cardio, in my opinion. I'm looking forward to actually seeing more of Imaov, because I think that he could turn out to be a really good fighter in kind of going forward. But I am on the Phil Hawes side. My money's already down. I'm going to look forward to that fight to kind of finish off the prelims and move on to the main card there. So, yeah, Phil Hawes via knockout. I'm going to go first round knockout for Phil Hawes there. But who knows what could happen if this fight kind of runs late. But that's my pick there. So, guys, like I say, I can see a lot in the chat. I've got like 42 people in here, which is awesome. If you've not thrown a thumbs up on the card, on the video, if you can do that, it'd be much appreciated, for the simple reason that it gets out there. The algorithm might pick up. I might get more views, might get more subs, and I'm trying to hit that 4,000 sub mark. So, yeah, let me just see. I'm going to bring up this banner here. That's the wrong one. There we go. I'll bring up this one here. Right, where are we? Main card time. Andre Arlovski against Tom Aspinall is up next here. Now, there's 2 heavyweight fights on here. 3 heavyweight fights, actually, but 2 of them with kind of old stalwarts against young prospects. And this is one of them here. You've got the former UFC champion Arlovski against the kind of young upsurging Tom Aspinall, who, what he's shown us so far, he's looked amazing. But it is against very, very low-level heavyweights. But he has did what he's supposed to. He's handled them accordingly, got them out there in rapid fashion, both in the first round. This is the guy that came through Cage Warrior, so I've known about for a long time. And then he wasn't really pushed in those fights, in my opinion. Sofian Bokachu, Ben Hamada, that was a horrible injury in that one there. He's got them out of there in the first round. Jake Collier, I mean, that's when Jake Collier came back to the former middleweight Jake Collier and looked completely out of shape, looked like he should never have been anywhere near that cage there. Alan Badeau, I don't see him being around the UFC by the end of this summer, if I'm being honest with you. I think that he will lose more fights in this upcoming year. But the guy's got really fast hands, good overall striking. He's got a jiu-jitsu game, which I've heard of through his dad's his instructor. He's a black belt, so he got his black belt very early on from his dad, I believe. And yeah, I'm kind of interested to see more of his ground game, because the only time I've really seen it was against Stuart Austin way back in the day, where he got heel hooked in the second round there back at Bama 21. And we haven't really seen too much, and that was way back in 2015. So you have to think there's been progression with his game, overall game. There's definitely has been. He's a very confident young lad with a lot of good things here, but this is a step up. This is a massive step up to anything that he's ever faced. And it's one of these fights here where Andre Arlovski thrives in against these kind of younger fighters that are coming in here, and he's a big underdog. And I was just looking at my topology record there. I've had 19 fights I've picked Arlovski. I'm 10-9. I'm not good at picking spots there. I picked against him his last couple of fights. I bet against him in some certain ones. I know the Felipe Lins one. I bet against him there, but these are the ones that he really comes through against, these guys that are making kind of big jumps in caliber opponents there, and he does that game plan of sitting there, throwing his strikes at the perfect time. But these are guys that are a little bit stationary in front of him. I think that when I look at Aspinall, I think he's got a little bit more of a kicking game. Not that we've seen a hell of a lot of it. I think he can do it all, Tom Aspinall. I'm ready to see it against higher caliber guys than your Badeau's and Jake Colliers. Arlovski's going to be a guy that's going to garner a lot of respect. I think a lot of people are going to take a shot at him this week for the simple reason of the matchup, where you might have Aspinall come in here and maybe freeze up a little bit because he's facing a kind of legend of the sport, a legend of the heavyweight division. I listened to an interview last week with Aspinall where he was talking about Andre Arlovski think it was one of the Manchester cards way back in the day, and he saw this guy with the fangs, and he was kind of, not saying intimidated, but he just like, he stood out, and he was like one of the first guys he kind of recognised when he was watching the sport. So this is a big thing here. I am going to pick Tom Aspinall, and this is one here when I'm a little bit, I think he should probably take a shot in the dog, but I think that Aspinall's quick speed could really kind of play a part in this one here. I think he could hurt him initially early on, could knock him out. But if Andrei Arlovski comes in here, kind of controls the pace of the fight, he's the one that's getting off, then I think he's a very live dog. He's like plus 210, I think, here in the UK. That's a decent number for a dog, especially a guy that's came through in a spot as dogs there. But I'm going to take Tom Aspinall. I'm actually going to pick him via knockout. I think he's going to catch him with a shot and put him down. But I am a little bit sceptical with Tom Aspinall. I know a lot of people over here in the UK are really pushing him up there to be like a danger guy in that division. I'm still not sure of it. But with fights like these, we're going to see where the kid's at. So I'm going to pick him to win that fight there via TKO in that one there. So, seeing what are you guys saying? Arlovski, a newfound game, leg kicks. Yeah, I can see where you guys are at there, but yeah. I'm really looking forward to this one. Rafael Alves against Pat Sabatini. I really like this Rafael Alves guy. He's not got the greatest record in the world, but the guy throws heat. The guy is like when you watch his fights, he kind of fights in spurts a little bit where he will not do a hell of a lot. But then when he does throw, he's throwing like weird like teep kicks where it looks like he's going up the middle, but he actually kind of comes in from the side and throws it. He will do lots of spins. The guy's got a serious choke on him. If you watch that Flores fight from the Contender series, I mean, that thing is just on like that. It looks like Flores is getting for a takedown. He's on that guillotine, and that's just a nasty, nasty choke. And I seen that the Nazarov fight there in the third round there, late on in that one, where he catches him with that. He's got a vicious, vicious choke. I watched like 4 or 5 fights of that, and then you watch the Felipe Douglas fight. Jeez. I mean, he's hitting with some big shots. He actually got wobbled at the end of that first round. Probably a round that he maybe actually lost, but then he came out there in the second round. They're kind of swinging a little bit, and he catches him with a plumb right hand, straight on the chin, puts Douglas out, gets a big, big win there. So I like the explosiveness, the kind of overall game. He's got vicious striking, great jiu-jitsu, and he's against Pat Sabatini here, who's coming in on short notice after Mike Trezano. I thought it was going to be a very close fight with them two, but Sabatini is a guy that I've heard about for the longest time, CWFC champion. I remember, I think it was a couple of years ago where he came across my path there when he was injured really badly. Actually, it was the start of last year, but I remember before that, I actually watched the Oliveira and the Damon Blackshear fight there where he won the title and did that. But James Gonzalez broke his arm. The guy never tapped. Like he put him, I can't remember what it was, probably Americana or something like that, or an armbar, inverted armbar, I think it was. And like his arm was just hanging off afterwards. But since then, he came back the end of last year, got 2 fights in, got 2 finishes, nasty knockout with Tony where he put him against the cage after initially hitting him with a right hand, and then got an armbar in his second fight. A very well put together fighter. I think he'll win fights in the UFC. I'm just more on the Alves side. I like his explosiveness throughout the fight. His gas tank is a little bit of a worry for me, but I am going to pick him in this one here. I think he actually catches him in a submission, so I'm going to go Rafael Alves via choke in that one there. Moving on to heavyweight division, we've got Aleksei Oleinik against Chris Daukaus. And I mentioned there's a couple of heavyweight fights where there's the old guard against the new guard, the young guard coming through. This is the other one here, and I'm going to go the other side in this one here. I'm going to go Aleksei Oleinik, and I think I'm going to catch some shit for this pick as well, because I think a lot of people will be on the Chris Daukaus side, because what he's shown us in his couple of fights in the UFC, again, kind of like Tom Aspinall, not against the greatest caliber opposition in Parker Porter, and I've forgotten the name, sorry, of his other opponent. Was it from Rodrigo Nascimento? I think it was Rodrigo Nascimento, where he knocked him out in the first round there. The guy's got really good initial striking, really fast hands for a heavyweight. He's not the biggest heavyweight. He's only like 225, 230. So he's quite quick, quite explosive. But again, this is a massive jump up to anything he's ever faced. And I'm not saying that Oleinik, we all know about Oleinik now. It's not like it's a new thing that jumps out with this guy. His striking's weird. It's very languid. He just kind of throws the arms out there. He can hurt you with some of those shots because he is a big, big dude. But we all know this guy, if he can get you chest to chest, and especially if he can get you on the ground, I think if he gets Daukaus on the ground one time, this could be over. I don't know the belt stature of Chris Daukaus. I know his brother's quite good down there. Really good active guard. Not really seen too much of it from Chris Daukaus. Seen a little bit of it in the Anweyu fight when he lost back in that one there when he got knocked out. But this is the fight that I'm going to be on Aleksei Oleinik. And I would like the line to be a little bit higher than plus 155 to think of a shot here. But I think this is just one of these fights that Aleksei, I mean, he's 43, 44 years of age. He's been around a hell of a long time. Coming off some losses. Get knocked out with Derrick Lewis in the second round. Beat Verdum. Beat Maurice Green. I just got a funny feeling this is going to be one of these Oleinik fights where he catches Chris Daukaus, gets him to the ground and gets a submission. So there's nothing really much I can talk about there. I feel like my gut feeling's on the Oleinik side here. I think a lot of people are going to... The betting line might actually go up because I know there's cappers out there that are I've seen them talk about Chris Daukaus, how they think he could be a prospect of this division. I'm still waiting to see it because, like I say, this is the big jump up. I took Aspinall on the first one. I'm going to take Aleksei Oleinik to stop Chris Daukaus here. So I've got Aleksei Oleinik to win this one via submission there. Charles Rosa against Derek Minor. Derek Minor, I mean, big shock last year when he beat TJ Laramie, but that's the kind of way that guy wins fights. And the guy can jump on things on an instant at any moment in fights. And that's something you have to be super careful with. I mean, the guy's got over 30, 35 fights. Guy's got a lot of submissions to his name, so that's his calling card. That if you put your head, especially with TJ Laramie, who's still not fully developed as a fighter in the UFC, not really fought a guy with amount of experience, as Derek Minor, and the way he can finish fights, then he made a mistake there, and Derek Minor kind of capitalised on it. Charles Rosa, to me, it's going to be my pick, Charles Rosa. As long as he doesn't get caught in something early, and like I say, it could absolutely happen with Minor because he's the type of guy that can catch you in a lot of shit very, very quickly. Charles Rosa is very experienced, a lot of fights in the UFC, fought some really tough guys on the ground, especially if you look at that Bryce Mitchell one. Like, he fought defensively very well when Bryce Mitchell was getting into these submissions. He was managing to move to the correct sides. So the guy's very savvy when it comes to the ground game. I think initially if he stops, especially in this first round, if he doesn't get caught with anything, I think his striking's better than Derek Minor. I think his ground game is very kind of well-versed. And I think he could actually get a stoppage as well. So I'm not going to sit around and kind of predict this one too long. I actually think Charles Rosa could sub Derek Minor in this one. So I'm going to pick Charles Rosa via stoppage, probably late round 2, early round number 3. But it's not a fight I really want to bet, only if the line kind of came down more on Rosa's side. But I'm going to kind of be staying away in that one there. Co-main event of the night, Ketlen Vieira against Yana Kunitskaya. I'm pretty sold on Ketlen Vieira to win this fight, I'll be honest. Yana's a dog. Like, she fights really tough in a lot of spots and a lot of fights there. But I just like the overall kind of game of Ketlen Vieira a little bit more. I think she's well-versed in the feet. Obviously, she got knocked out by Irene Aldana, where she kind of got a little bit too aggressive against a really good striker and kind of paid the price for it. But I think altogether she puts it together very well. Decent striking, good timing on her takedowns, good top game. And I mean, some people were talking this girl up kind of many moons ago as being a fighter that could potentially hold the belt, fight for the belt. I think she can fight for the belt. I think it's a massive fight for this division to maybe come through and face maybe Amanda Nunes or whatever it may be, depending what's going on with her, whether she's going to retire or not, if she beats Megan Anderson soon. But yeah, I like her a little bit more in this fight here for the simple reason I think she's what's the word? I just think she's more well-rounded. I think she's stronger. I think she can, like I say, I think she can get takedowns. I think she can be devastating on top with some are like a top game. But this is not one that I've looked into all that much. It's not a fight I've got much interest in, if I'm being honest with you. It's maybe one that I'm going to watch towards the end of the week there and see what it is. But like I say, this is kind of more that I've watched one fight each girl here, and it was the last fight. So I'm not really taking much away here. And the prediction is going to be Ketlen Vieira. But I am going to watch a little bit more in this and see if maybe Yana's a little bit liver than I initially think. But don't really want any part of this fight, if I'm being honest with you. But the pick's going to be Ketlen Vieira via a decision in that one there. And now we're on to the main event of the night. Curtis Blaydes against Derrick Lewis, a fight that was put together, then scrapped on fight day because somebody got COVID. I don't know, it was Curtis Blaydes or whoever it may be. Obviously, there's a lot of love on the Curtis Blaydes side here. This is a fight he should win. It's a kind of good stylistic matchup, and we kind of know what Derrick Lewis needs to do. Curtis Blaydes is going to come out there. He's going to initially just stay at distance, and then initially he's going to blast in and try and get takedowns. And we've seen that Derrick Lewis can be taken down by loads of different people. He's been taken down numerous times in his career here. Let me just bring this up. So Oleinik got him down. Latifi got him down. Blagoy got him down. Daniel Cormier got him down. Volkov got him down. Tybura got him down. So people get this guy down, but it's easier said than done keeping the guy there, because the guy, he kind of sits there, he'll take shots, he'll be laid on, and then just that moment, any moment, he will explode up, and then you're in his realm again where he's super dangerous. But we've seen with Curtis Blaydes there that he can go pretty much 20, 25 minutes of really just going after grappling and doing it for long spots in that fight. Now, we've seen against Volkov, he kind of showed that his gas tank's not completely all there, but when you're doing the amount of grappling that guy is and attempting takedowns, that's going to wear on you at the size that he's at. And Volkov actually fought a really good fight there, actually. I think that it was a tough fight, but he showed signs that he's kind of improving and can kind of last in the fight. So it's all about here, can Derrick Lewis catch him with a shot? And can Curtis Blaydes kind of get him out of there before kind of eating that shot? So it's hard to pick Derrick Lewis in this one. I'm not going to pick Derrick Lewis, so the pick's going to be Curtis Blaydes. He'll be a massive parlay piece this week, so he could be an apple pie shitter, as the boy in the Dogger Pass podcast usually say, apple pie shitters. But I have to kind of side with Curtis Blaydes. I don't think I'll have any real part in this fight, except for a DK purpose, where I'll be probably pretty heavy in Curtis Blaydes with the amount of takedowns and position, holding position that he could get. But yeah, I'll go Curtis Blaydes. I'll pick him via TKO, via a heavy kind of ground and pound in the kind of mid part of this fight, maybe 2 into round 3. So, guys, that's my picks for UFC Vegas 18. Like I said earlier on, my cash left, podcast will be out on Thursday at 9:30. Come and join me for that there. And we talk about all the things kind of betting on that card there. So, yeah, it's been awesome. I've got nearly 50 people in here, which is awesome. It's one of the things there that I like to see is a good amount of people in the chat. Been here for 53 minutes, so if you stuck around for all that, much appreciated. I was going to go into the chat there, guys, but I think you've been going at it for the longest spot there. So, yeah, if you can throw a like in the video, it really does help, guys. If you're watching this video after the fact, leave a comment with your picks. I will get back to you as soon as possible. And like I say, from March, I'm going to be having a Patreon where you can support the channel, support me, and if anybody wants to do that, it's much appreciated. It's not forced on anybody. I'm still going to be doing these week in and week out for you guys because I love doing it. Until next time, guys, all the very, very best. You can follow me on Twitter, BMMA Tips, at Will Martin MMA. Until then, all the very, very best. Take care. Enjoy the fights when they come around this weekend. And please, no fights fall off. 15 fights, please. Just let it happen one time.